All right, we head out to the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Continue to talk Kings with Brenden Nunes, of course, from Kings Herald. Brenden, as always, thanks for joining us. We appreciate your time. Can the Kings effectively end the Clips' hopes of making some kind of major headway in the standings by beating them tonight, Brenden?
I think so. First of all, thanks for having me on, guys. Always glad to join you. But I think that, the Clippers being 5 games back at this point, and if you can extend that to 6 and their losing streak ever since that classic game they played against the Kings, it'd be 5 in a row if they lost tonight. I mean, it feels pretty tough to say no. It would take a monumental collapse from Sacramento if they were able to pull this off to even let the Clippers back in it. So it certainly feels that way and feel pretty good about their chances with no Kawhi.
Brenden, I've been asking everyone we've talked about the Kings with since we had the discussion earlier this week. We were discussing some of the odds and probabilities that are out there for the Kings to make the playoffs, and I forget which one it was. One of them had them at a 98.9% chance to make the playoffs, and that's about 99. I'll just round up to 99, Brenden, and to me that's as close to a lock as you can get. And I said, yeah, I'm considering it a lock. This is a playoff team. Nick wasn't quite ready to go there. Are you ready to go there?
I'll stick with that whole 99%. I'll leave the 1% for any sort of Kings activity because we're not too far removed from that. But I feel pretty good, man. I mean, the 4.5 game lead they have on that 6 seed, the 5 that it is to those Clippers that are sitting in 7, you got to feel pretty comfortable. And they're playing good basketball. There was a big emphasis put on by the coaching staff to not take your foot off the gas or have any sort of hiccup post All-Star break. And they've won 4 games in a row. So got to feel pretty good about it. I'll leave that 1%, but if I was a betting man, I would say yes. I think they make it at this point.
Brenden Nunes with us here, Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports. Back to the game tonight, Brenden. I know Kawhi is out, but Ty Lue called his team out last night. Lack of toughness. Should we expect an intense, physical Clippers team tonight?
Absolutely. I think that they're going to be playing desperate, and I think they'll also have a little bit of an extra edge after losing that heartbreaker to the Kings in that double overtime 170-plus game. So I definitely think that's what we'll see. And the Kings do have a little bit of a history this year of not playing great against teams who are missing their best players. So I definitely, while I would understand the Kings are, I think it's 8.5-point favorites at this point, which seems a little bit crazy to me, but I also understand where it's coming from, that at this point, it's not going to be a walk in the park. There's still a lot of very talented players on the other side there for the Clippers. Even if they're missing a couple of their key guys, they're an extremely deep team. I think you can go about 8 or 9 deep in that rotation, if not further, and you're still looking at quality players that can really get it done on any given night. I mean, even the Warriors they just went up against, there's no Steph Curry, but Jordan Poole comes in and drops 34 as a huge third quarter. There's guys on this Clippers team that are able to do that, and I expect them to be playing desperate. But the Kings need to be matching that sort of energy.
Mike Brown was brought in to be head coach and with the reputation of this, defensive Swami, and that's what he was brought here to fix. And I think they're up one spot in the defensive efficiency rankings from where they were at this point last year. And if I told you that before the season started or anybody, you'd probably say, well, Mike Brown didn't do a great job of fixing the defense, and they're probably not winning a whole bunch of games. But here they are. Is that sustainable into the postseason, do you think, Brenden?
It's got to be the biggest concern. I think that the other end, obviously, is I don't think any of us expected them to have a historic level offense, so that cleans up some of your defensive warts. But I think the optimistic approach that you could attempt to take is they were 8th in fourth quarter defensive rating, and I think that jumped to 7th after last night. And kind of asked some of the guys that shoot around in practice about that a little bit, and they think that that's something that they can carry over into those first 3 quarters as well. That success they're able to have in the fourth quarter defensively is more so an example of they are capable of doing it, and they should be able to do it for an entire game. We haven't really seen that, but that's been Coach Brown's frustration this entire year, that anytime there's defensive shortcomings, the most frustrating thing is that he's seen the team do it before, and typically they're able to do it in that fourth quarter. So if your scoring can carry you all the way to being a close game in that fourth quarter, they do tend to show up on the defensive end in that end of game scenarios. But it is something that definitely is pretty concerning come postseason time.
Brenden Nunes from Kings Herald is with us on the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Brenden, are we witnessing Keegan slowly becoming the number 3 guy on this team?
Yeah, it's interesting. It seems like the number 3 guy could be anyone on any given night. HB, Kevin Herter, Keegan Murray, Malik Monk. There's nights where it's Terrence Davis, Davion Mitchell, Trey Lyles. There's so many guys. But I do think that eventually that's going to become Keegan Murray, and I do think we're seeing that development. Anytime Coach Brown has challenged him to do something directly, we've seen him respond. That was rebounding at the beginning of the year. He had a 0 rebound game, and then since then, his rebounding averages has gone through the roof. And more recently, it's been the handle that Coach Brown kind of challenged him there, and Keegan was adamant that, no, I already have that handle. And Coach said, well, show it to me. And I think he's been showing everybody as of late, where instead of just making that extra connecting pass, he's able to put the ball on the floor, and he's got great size. I remember Monty McNair's presser after they drafted Keegan. One of the things he highlighted was his dunk percentage, how often he's dunking the ball, which obviously is going to be the most efficient shot in basketball. And you just don't see that often throughout the course of this year, but you're seeing it more and more. So the length and size that he has, if that dribble can become more consistent, he can become comfortable in it, I think that's where he can really take this next step, because there's been more flashes this year than admittedly I ever thought when they drafted Keegan with that number 4 pick that make me think this whole Chris Middleton comparison that Keegan has set himself seems a little bit more realistic with each passing game.
What do you think are the chances that we saw the return of Red Velvet a couple nights ago?
I hope that it's good. It's always a little tough for me with shooters specifically, right? You never know if they're going to stay on their hot streak or just any given night if shots are going to fall or not. But I do think one of the big things for Herter is that even when that 3-point shot isn't falling, that he's able to use his shooting threat to still make some nice backdoor cuts, which obviously Domas and the rest of the guys, the ball movement on this team, are going to reward. He's good in the mid-range. He's a connecting piece on offense. So I certainly hope so. I guess I will say I don't think that slump was going to last. So maybe we won't see as good of a night as we did the other night, but I never was looking at that slump from Kevin Herter as something all too concerning long-term.
Brenden, great stuff. We appreciate you. Enjoy the game tonight. And, of course, the game tomorrow. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, man.
Later, guys. Thanks for the invite.
Thanks,
there goes Brenden Nunes from the Kings Herald, again on the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop.